Everybody, this is Everyday Commentary, and this is a video overview of this knife. And this knife is the K12, the one-handed knife from A.G. Russell. He made a bunch of different versions of this knife, but essentially what the knife is, it's a medium-sized, sort of everyday carry knife, and it has this strap lock. Now the strap lock was originally invented by Pat Crawford, who's a custom maker down south, I believe in Arkansas. And he lent it to A.G. Russell with permission. He hadn't patented it because he didn't believe that it could be patented. And then A.G. Russell decided to patent it, and he gave money to Pat Crawford, even though there was no agreement between the two. He just did it, I think, because he's an upstanding guy. Anyway, the one major benefit of this strap lock design is that it can be used ambidextrous. So if you're right-handed, it's pretty easy. If you're left-handed, it's pretty easy. This is a knife that you don't see a whole lot on YouTube, you don't hear a lot about on the forums, and I'm not exactly sure why, because it's a really well-made, well-designed knife. And so you can see that the knife has a very, nicely done blade. It's VG10, so it's not the greatest steel in the world, but it's very, very well made. You can see it's relatively thick for the size of the knife. And the grind is just very, very good. I believe it's a full flat grind, but I can't exactly tell. So it's either a full flat grind or a very shallow hollow grind. There's a real choil here, so you can sharpen it all the way to the edge. It comes to a very fine point. This is the A.G. Russell utility blade shape. And the body of the handle is a classic from A.G. Russell as well. There's a lot of knives in A.G. Russell's lineup that have this. So there's an ultralight version that uses a plastic strap, and it has the same handle, as does the Scorpion, the flipper. It has a very similar handle with just the indexing notch and a slight curve back here to accommodate your hand. This knife is relatively thin and has closed construction, but it has an ambidextrous over-the-top pocket clip, so you can take this pocket clip and switch it around. So there's a screw here. What you do is you take out the screw, and it actually has like a little thing that goes inside the handle. So you pull this out, you switch it around, and then it goes inside the handle on the other side, and we'll keep it nice and tight. There's really no movement at all. And the pocket clip is quite discreet, and it works very, very well. The tension is perfect. It doesn't stick up too much, but it's a good design. It's a very simple design. It's a good, simple design. Now, here's the trick with this knife. So you open it like a normal knife, but what you do is you kind of run your finger up against this plate, and then just tap it with your finger, and then you can close it one-handed. It's very smooth. The washers inside, I don't know what they are, I can't tell, are extremely smooth. And then the action to close it is very, very simple. One thing that I would note is that when you get the knife initially, this is pretty tense right here, so it does take a little bit of time to break in. But once it's broken in, the knife is actually very, very easy to close and open. You can open it with a quick wrist flick, or a quick thumb flick, or you can roll it open. The one criticism I have about this knife, aside from the VG10 handles, is these thumb studs are awfully pointy. And if you're going to coin flip it with your finger, using your fingernail, it doesn't really matter. But if you're going to roll it open, these things are really pokey. So I like to see these reduced, but I'm not so worried about that because most of the time I just pop it open that way anyway. The other thing that's really interesting about this knife is that it's a perfect knife for variations. These handle scales are basically just onlays, so you can take them off and put them on. And A.G. Russell has some that were cocobolo, some that were bone, and then yellow Delrin, and then this black Rucarda, which I don't know why it's not just called micarta, but whatever. And they're all very nice. In addition to that, he has some really high-end versions of this knife, some with Damascus steel, some with Cowrie X, which is a precursor to ZDP 189. And in those knives, you can see that the handle is actually all one piece, and that this little strap just kind of cuts out. There's a cutout here for the strap to come in. Overall, the K12 is a really great little knife. And it's called the K12 because this model was introduced as it is in 2012. So you'll see like the K93 and the K12, that means that it's the year that the knife was first introduced. This knife is no longer in production, I don't think. It got discontinued from A.G. Russell's website, and I bought it when it was closed out at a reduced price. And the knife itself, I think, was $112, which is awfully expensive for a knife that runs VG10 steel, but it is an excellent knife in terms of overall design. It competes quite nicely with the Spyderco Delica and the Benchmade Mini Grip. It's in that same size. It's a little more expensive, but I also think it's a little more refined. And as you can tell, it's fun and easy to open. Let's see, anything else? Oh, this knife is made in China, and despite being made in China, or perhaps because it's being made in China, the fit and finish is unbelievable. A.G. Russell has a couple of different knives that are being made in China right now, and every single one of them, every single one that I've gotten, and I've had 5 now, have been really, really well made, and this is no exception. I mean, this knife is just smooth, smooth, smooth. It's perfectly centered, and it's very, 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 very nicely done. I don't know if they're having the VG10 shipped to Japan, or if the blades are cut in Japan and then the rest is assembled in China. Either way, that probably explains why this knife costs so much for a VG10 blade. VG10 is a product of Japan, and Japanese laws regarding the export of steel are pretty strict. So, for example, this is why there are no ZDP 189 knives made in America, and there are very few knives with VG10 that are made outside of Japan. Calorie X is the same way. The Suminagashi steel that is like Japanese Damascus is very hard to get outside of Japan. It's basically available only in allotments sized for custom makers. So whatever the issue is, I think that the cost between like this knife and a knife, you know, like the Delica or the Mini Grip might be explained by the cost of exporting the steel or exporting the blade to China and then having the rest of the knife made and then shipped over here. Anytime you add an extra shipping step, it's going to cost you more. So this is the overview of the A.G. Russell K12 one-handed knife, and a review of this knife will be coming very shortly. Normally I do the overviews right away, but I didn't get a chance. So thanks for watching, and look for the review on everydaycommentary.com. Thanks.